Now, God's name was not given to him by anyone else except himself. He gave it to himself, and he's saying, whenever you hear this name, I want you to think of me and no one else. Whenever you hear this name, I want you to get a picture in your mind. I want you to understand what I'm like. And so he gave himself a name and then told us to hallow it. And part of hallowing it means that we give it to no one else. That's one way in which the prayer is answered. If we're going to keep God's name holy as it ought to be kept holy, we should never apply it to another person. Hallowed be thy name. What is God's name? That's the question. There are three things I want to say this morning, and the first is, God is not God's name. God is not God's name. The word translated God in the Old Testament is from the Hebrew word El, which simply means a supernatural power. It's exactly the same word as I heard on the lips of Arabs when we lived in Aden, Allah, which means a supernatural power. And it's a word you'll find used elsewhere in the world. We use the word God almost as a name for God simply because for centuries in this country we've been taught that there is only one. That in fact the word God is simply a description. It is not the name. And therefore it doesn't really matter whether a person believes in God or not. It depends which God they believe in. And if you went up to a Hindu immigrant from India and said, do you believe in God? He would rightly say, which one? And you would then have to name the God you were thinking of in your question. Now this was the situation in the Bible days. And Moses, brought up in the court of Pharaoh, knew perfectly well that in Egypt they believe in many gods. And so when he was sent to Egypt, and God said, tell them I'm going to get them out of there, he said, well, who shall I say called? I don't even know your name, and I don't know what to say. And God said, I will tell you my name. The second thing I want to say is this. We do not know his name today. Nobody does. Nobody knows. Now let me tell you what I mean by that. This may seem surprising when I